Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting of September 2nd. We have two new members that were appointed to our committee over the summer, Mrs. Jean Kenny and Mr. Larry Pittman. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much.
And we have several that are on remote. So to get things going, where we do have people on remote, we have to do a roll call for attendance, and all of our votes tonight on articles and so forth will be by roll call. So I'll start. Mark Trudell here. Denny?
Here.
Josette?
Here.
So we're good?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. We have a quorum of 13. Once again, with the governor lifting the COVID emergency, we are still allowed to do Zoom/hybrid meetings. But under that guidelines, we still have to do roll call votes because there are people who are remotely visiting the meeting and may or may not be able to see hands raised and so forth for the count. So we'll get everybody through roll call for the record. First order of business is reorganization of the Finance Committee leadership. We need to elect a new chair, vice chair, and secretary. We start with the chair, so that person can then proceed with leading the meeting going forward. Nominations for chair. Yes, Susan?
I would move to have Mark Trudell
Okay.
as our chair.
All right. Moved by Susan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah. I got a second from Josette. Any other nominations? All right, we will do a roll call vote for electing Mark Trudell as chair. Denny?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
And Larry is still out. I will vote abstain.
12-0.
1201. Thank you. Next, we'll entertain a motion for vice chair. I nominate Denny Crowley,
Second.
seconded by Susan. Any other nominations for vice chair? There being none, we'll hold our roll call vote. Denny?
I'll abstain.
Abstain. Josette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. 1201, welcoming Denny as vice chair. Next up is secretary, and I'll nominate Josette Burke,
Second.
seconded by Susan. Any other nominations? There being none, we'll do a roll call vote. Denny?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Josette?
Abstain.
Abstain. 1201. Okay. There are other positions that the Finance Committee appoints, but at our previous meeting, we elected to leave them in those positions until their term expires and the town moderator reappoints them. Those positions are the capital budget, which Josette is on, and the other is the middle school building project, which is Susan. Those positions are not up for replacement at this point since they are in the middle of their terms. Jim, if you want to give us a quick overview of the entire warrant, and then we'll get into specific articles.
Sure. So just keep in mind that these numbers are a draft, and this is really in draft format. I sent it over to town council about a week ago, and she's reviewing it. The board is likely going to sign it at their next meeting, probably on the 4th. I expect that it's possible that one of the water articles could get pulled, so just because of the borrowing might not line up with what they're looking for. So I'll just start with Article 2 is the in-year budget adjustment article, the standard article that's on every warrant. At this time, I'm proposing 3 changes to municipal budgets. One being the elections budget, which is $30,000. That's something that Liz and I have worked on. It's a conservative estimate for the November 2nd election. We didn't budget for that because, one, we didn't know what the date was, and I knew we could come back in and adjust it under Article 2. The legal budget, I'm looking for an additional $50,000 on that. There's multiple cases pending before the zoning board that are likely going to be costly. The zoning board appears as though they're going to go and battle it out through the court systems. We didn't budget for that. They're very important to the town and to the residents. I think if I didn't think it was worthwhile, I wouldn't be asking for an additional funding for it. But working with legal counsel, they conservatively estimate that it's going to be about another $50,000. So I just want to keep that in the budget just in case it's needed. I expect that it will be. And then the big one is fire for $350,000. Now, as part of the supplemental materials I gave you, the fire chief gave me a breakdown of the cost to keep East Walpole Fire Station open 24/7. Reason we didn't budget for this is the select board made the decision after the budget was set for FY22. This is going to continue to have 24/7 coverage in East Walpole and give them the necessary equipment they need to continue to have firefighters down at that station. It also is going to cover the added cost for the Norwood Hospital being closed. We were all hoping that it was going to be open in this fiscal year. That is definitely not the case. We're looking at probably 23 at the earliest for an emergency room. So that's the added cost for the mostly transportation there. So that accounts for about $150,000. Where's the other 200 coming from? It's coming from the needed cost to outfit the 2 new fire trucks that were approved as part of capital via the capital budget committee. Each fire truck cost about $100,000 to outfit. We can get into this with capital, but you may recall, some of you who've been on this committee before, about 4 or 5 years ago, we had an issue where we needed a reserve fund transfer. The fire department was using 1997 hose, and I believe it was like 2018, 2019. And the fire chief and I agreed that let's never do this again. Every time we get a new fire truck, let's put all new equipment on it so we're not dealing with outdated hose and rubber that's all dried up or jaws of life that are just not, you shouldn't be putting on a brand new truck. So that's where it's a good chunk of change. Where am I proposing it come from? I'm proposing that it comes from new growth. Dennis has advised me new growth is looking good. We budgeted just about $650,000 for it. And it's going to come in, he said, probably about $1 million, he thought. So that's Article 2. Article 3 is the Opeb article. At this time, I'm recommending $716,914 be transferred into Opeb. Why such an exact number? I went back years ago. Some of you may recall that in September 2018, FinCom, Select Board, and the school committee got together, had a joint meeting. We all agreed, let's stick to this formula. And the formula is basically the first $2 million, we will take 2.5% of the first $2 million. Anything over $2 million, we'll take 7.5%. So that total equals $556,914. The reason I added an extra $150,000 in there or so is because the last 2 years, because of COVID, we cut back some of those budgets. We lost a little bit of the good roll that we were on. And I think, given the free cash number, we should do a little bit more to try to catch up with what we missed out there. Article 4 is the stabilization, standard stabilization article. I'm proposing that we put $1 million into stabilization. Our current balance in stabilization is just about $8.6 million. That'll take us up to $9.6 million. It gets us very close to that 10% goal I've been talking to the Finance Committee about the last few years. Article 5 is something that's completely new. Capital Stabilization Article. This article was established, this fund was established in 1968, currently has a $0 balance. Why am I even proposing this at this time? I'm looking at this particular time we're in here in Walpole and saying our free cash is in great shape. We're doing a lot through capital budget, but I think we know we have other projects besides the middle school project on the horizon. One that comes to mind is the high school project. We've talked about doing some type of an addition and renovation on there. I've talked to you folks and Superintendent Goff and Nancy Gallivan and Bill Buckley and I have talked about, can we do this, some type of addition renovation on there within the existing levy limit, just as we've done with the fire station, council on aging, police station, and vehicle maintenance garage. I think we can, but I think we need to start to plan for it and save for it so we're not borrowing all this money at once in, the next 2 to 5 years or something. So if we continue to put some money aside in this capital stabilization fund, this fund can be used for anything, but it's going to take a 2/3 vote to get out. And, a couple of years from now, the finance committee changes over, select board, school committee, you could just put it there, keep it to other projects if the leadership changes in town. So there's some flexibility there, and it puts it in the stabilization account. Next one up is next few are the capital budget articles relating to infrastructure, equipment, borrowing, and street improvements. So Chairman Fosberg will be in next week to talk to you about those. They just finished up last night with all of their recommendations. They've actually been going pretty strong the last few weeks, 2 meetings a week, meeting with the department heads, and so they wrapped it up last night, and they're ready to meet with you next Thursday night. Article 10, 11, 12, and 13 relate to the sewer and water borrowing and retained earnings accounts. Retained earnings was certified for the water account at $2,785,000, and at the sewer it was $1,955,000. The item that may not move forward is Article 13, which is a proposed borrowing. Rick and I and Superintendent Gustafson are meeting with the commissioners on September 13th, so I'll know then whether or not they just want to pull this article altogether. I'm getting the sense they might, because it would involve a substantial betterment on less than 10 houses. So that may not go forward, and that is going to change the numbering from about probably 12 or 13 on. Article 14 is the standard free cash transfer for the accounts that the school collects. They collect Medicare reimbursements and general fund for the student parking there. It used to be McKinney-Vento, but they haven't been getting that because of COVID. Everything seems to be blamed on COVID. So that totals just about $293,000. Article 15 is the big one that everybody is going to be focused on. That is the middle school article. I'm sure we call it the road show on our weekly meetings. The building committee, our design team, our project manager, the school superintendent, her team are going to be having meetings out in at Johnson Middle School, one meeting there, and I think up to 3 meetings at the Bird Middle School, just to make sure that the community is involved and that we have plenty of input and outreach to everyone so they're educated on the proposed project. Article 16 is the street acceptances. I believe Rick's here tonight to speak to that. Pretty standard, Emerald Way and Olmsted Lane. We're grouping it into one article there. Carl's been working with the planning board on this, and it's just about set to go. Article 17 is Article 17 is a planning board proposal to rezone the Route 1A fields of the South Walpole Community Athletic Complex from rural to parks, school, and recreation. I believe either Jack Conroy or Katie Turco are going to be coming in to talk to that. Katie's given me some talking points as to why she proposed this to the planning board there. So much more to come on that one. And the last article is a citizen's petition to see if to get an additional wine and package store for East Walpole. It's being proposed by Tom F. Curran. It's my understanding that the owner of the East Walpole wine, what does he call it? The deli down there on Washington Street. He is pushing for it with the hopes to get a package store license. So Just to run through some of the town finances, our free cash was certified at $9,025,519. I gave you a breakdown of where some of the major funding sources were there, and you can go through that. I'll take any questions you might have. Jody and Lisa did an excellent job getting everything into the state, along with Dennis. That we were one. I think we might have been our representative's first town to be certified with free cash in the area that she oversees. I gave you a breakdown of where I'm proposing free cash go towards, and just a history. I seem to be asked every year, what was the balance in this account last year or 5 years ago? So on most accounts, I go all the way back in stabilization. Just for example, we had $1,349,000 in there. Today we have 8.6. In 2006, our free cash was 3.1 million. We're looking at 9 million today. Opeb balances, we started putting money towards Opeb back in the spring of 2011. We've gone from zero just before then to a balance of 6.4 million. And reserve fund, and that's something your committee oversees, and I like to just kind of keep you with a running track of how much you've spent each year. So I'll take any questions. I know we're set to talk about some of the first few articles and the street acceptances, so however you want to handle it, Mr. Chair.
Any questions on the overall warrant, or should we jump right into articles?
Jump right in.
Okay, nobody at home is jumping in? Okay, so Article 2, in-year budget adjustments for fiscal year 2022. As Jim alluded, we have a special election for a debt exclusion override for the middle school. So that's the $30,000. He addressed the need for additional potential legal fees to be funded. And quick update on the capital. How many fire trucks are we adding to the?
So thank you for bringing this up. So Fire Chief and Deputy Barry did some excellent work. We're proposing 2 fire engines at this time. To the best of my knowledge, the town's never bought 2 fire engines at once, but we were notified, I think it was Thursday or Friday, that fire department was successful in obtaining a grant for $545,000 to go towards a fire truck. So originally my projected borrowing on that was $1,340,000. Now it's $1,340,000 minus $545,000, whatever that number is. So great work for the chief and his team. So.
Okay, Chief, are these the standard large trucks, or? Okay. Okay. Alrighty. And the.
You have dimensional limitations in that station.
Okay. And the existing vehicles in Station 2, will they be decommissioned or backups? Okay.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Engine 2 and engine 5.
Okay.
Engine 2 is a 2009, engine 5 19.
Wow.
Alrighty. Any questions for the chief or Jim on Article 2? Yes, Denny.
Chief, when you're decommissioning, what happens to them? Do we
So it depends.
we sell them? Do we get any value for them?
Can I get the best value?
Yeah.
I met with the salesman from Greenwood, so did Jody, so did Lisa, the chief, and Paul, because I wanted to see what's the best value I could get. We're buying 2 at once. Give me a deal. Let's we'll make it happen. And the best we could get was, I think it was $30,000 off one engine, and they looked to see what they could give us for a trade-in. I think the 2009, what did he say, 12,000 or something? So the 2009, he said, the best I can get you is 12,000, and the 99 was what, 3? Yeah, it was very low. So I said, thank you very much, but you know what, we've had success over the last 2 or 3 years selling our vehicles online. We recently sold, I call it the bread truck, which is for the fire department. We got the squad truck. We got more than we thought we would get in that. A few years ago, we established a 53E.5 account to allow us to do this, and we just basically put money into that account, and we're able to offset some of the capital expenses in the future. We also sold engine 4, to New Bedford. Yeah, so we've been successful kind of figuring it out on our own and seeing what we could get. So
Good. Are these vehicles brand new that we're buying? Yeah. Yeah. Just assume that, but then when you just figured I'd confirm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Susan?
Just a quick question. So let's assume that we're successful in selling them. thought about buying them for my grandsons, but that money then just goes back into the general.
No, that one, if we sell it on our own, it goes into that, it's a 53
If
unit.
you're going to sell it that way, yes, it will go into a special register fund for 4453 and a half.
Yeah, that we established. We asked for authorization from town meeting, maybe 3 town meetings ago for that, to set that up that way, so we could sell them at online auctions and everything, and just put it in there, and we can, eventually, when we get $50,000 or $60,000, we can use it to offset some capital projects in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mark?
So, in general, how much are the trucks?
680 each, roughly,
680 each, and then another 100,000
to outfit each of
to
them.
outfit each of the trucks. Okay, I'm curious, so you're getting rid of one truck that we got in 97, the other one that we got in 2009. Why can't the 2009 one last as long as the 97 one has?
Let the chief speak. I know Ed's going to get into this next week, but I'll let the chief
Oh,
speak.
so are we doing this next week?
The capital side, yeah.
Oh, all right, okay, no,
We're just.
I'll withdraw the questions then. Let me just ask the other one. So the election, 30,000, why is that so expensive?
That's why I asked her to be here tonight.
The expense to purchase the ballots, I need to have at least one for every voter, and that's bare minimum. I'm supposed to have 3 for every voter, so that if you made a mistake. So they come in at $5,000–6,000 for that at the bare minimum. I think this is going to be a highly successful turnout for this particular election. I think everybody would be involved in it, so I'm expecting a big turnout. I'm planning to do some early voting. I'm going to go before the selectmen and ask them to add early voting hours, so that will bring people in. So to staff early voting, that's another $5,000. So to run just the town election for not as many hours as this, it comes out to about $22,000–23,000. So we're going to run a 12-hour election with early voting for 5 days. And the cost of the prep and the staff.
I'll be curious to see how effective the early voting is. Like, is it worth putting 5,000? I'm not asking you to, I'm just, it'll be a question I'll have for you after it's over to see is early voting worth the funding or not. I have no idea, so.
Yeah, it's just to give voters more opportunities to get out there, because we will also be doing vote by mail. So everybody gets a chance to vote. It seems that we moved away from election day, we moved into like election weeks.
And so my last comment is, you have to have a paper ballot for every voter.
I do.
And historically, what percentage of Walpole voters come out to vote?
For your overrides, we get a good turnout, especially if it's on a Tuesday, which is when we're happen to have it. If it runs in conjunction with the state, it can be as high as a presidential turnout, depending on the state election we're running it with. But I usually, the last 2 you had 46% and 64%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's busy.
So we want to encourage Walpole voters so we're not throwing away a lot of unused ballots. That was the point I was getting at. Great. I'm all set.
You're going to have that though as well, but I'd rather have it than none.
Thank you.
Other questions, Mark?
Are you able to do a run-through of the legal cases that you're looking to fund?
Yes, but I'm walking a very fine line because it's pending legal. So the 2 that come to mind is KW Steel with the zoning board. That's going to be, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's on School Street. The neighbors have complained for about a year now with the noises from the steel company. Building commissioner made a ruling. Zoning board upheld their ruling, which basically it wasn't allowed there. And they've decided to appeal that to the court level, and council's advised that's going to be costly for the town, which is fine. And the biggest one is going to be the solar farm up in North Walpole. That he explained to me that there's a lot of background that is going to be completed before, background research and findings and presentation that will all mostly be wrapped up before the end of this fiscal year. Because I questioned him, I said, so could I do 25 and 25, 25 this year, 25 next year? He said, I think I'm going to have the majority of the 50,000. It's mostly the the North Walpole solar farm that's going to eat up a considerable amount, because the residents up there have spoken, the select board have heard them. I think the zoning board heard them with their findings there. So those are the two that come to mind. And obviously, I'm also very much mindful of the Summer Street project down in, I don't know what, they filed their decision, but I don't know what route, if there's going to be any further appeals on that one. So those are the couple of big ones.
Any other questions? Zoom people, any questions on Article 2? There being none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion for favorable action in Article 2.
Second?
And for the record, it's 430,000 even from taxation? Yeah, because it's new growth.
Taxation.
Okay, yep, all righty.
Through taxation.
Yeah, so it's moved by Denny and seconded by Susan?
Yep.
All righty. All in favor, Denny?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, and Larry did not come on. Alrighty. Motion carries 13-0-0 for favorable action on Article 2. Article 3, Opeb contribution from free cash. I did have a couple of questions from Larry where he is traveling. Just for the record, one of his questions was, how much did we put into the operating budget for Opeb this year? We only put in 100,000. I confirmed that earlier. We have, Jim explained earlier, we have the formula that we're using when we get certified free cash. The first 2 million gets a percentage, everything over that 2 million, we put in a larger percentage. And as he explained, he's putting in additional money from free cash to do the catch-up that we weren't able to put into the budget last year and the year before.
What's that? Sorry.
No, I was just giving a
I
rundown.
thought you might ask what's our unfunded liability, and that's what I was confirming with.
Well,
Lisa.
actually, that's one of the other questions is the plan for meeting our unfunded liability, and when's the next time we do a audit evaluation of the unfunded?
They just did it.
They just did.
Last year, so not this year.
It'll be next year, okay. And actually, the plan is, as Jim explained, we try to put money into the budget. We've put anywhere from 0 in the budget up to 500,000 in the budget. But because of COVID, we were being conservative and we scaled back that budget. We were able to put 100,000 in the spring in the budget, and we're subsidizing it with free cash based on the formula that was explained earlier. Any questions on Article 2? Article 3. I don't see anyone.
There, no?
Okay.
The 150, it's meant to catch us up, but how far off are we still?
Well, if you go by what we were doing before, when, like, for example, last fall, we did put 250,000 into it. So this past, the spring of 20, in the spring of 21, if you go according to what we were doing historically, which is about 500,000 at town meeting, we started that in 2019. So if you look at it that way, Jeff, I would say you're about on $900,000 behind.
After this, we'll still be not.
Forward with this. So, yeah. Well, after this, I'm putting an extra $150,000 in. So if you go after this, I'd say, just in my head, I'd say you're 750,000 behind. So the plan for the spring coming up is obviously, I want to put it back up to 500,000. And immediately, we're going to catch up money on unemployment, because I think we budgeted 350 for unemployment. And I did say to you folks that we don't know if the federal money is going to run out or what's going to happen. Hasn't been much of an issue, so my plan would be for this coming budget cycle to knock that dip back down to 150 to where it was before pre-COVID, and take all of that money and just swap it over, and then add more money back into it. So it's not as much of a catch-up, and it's not going to impact the 66-34 split, because the unemployment's already taken out of that. So.
Yep. How are we personnel-wise? Have we been able to bring people back, or have people wanted to come back or not wanted to come back?
People have been coming back, but our problem is sometimes when we, on the town side, I can tell you, when Patrick and Christine go out to advertise a position, the candidate pool sometimes isn't there, and we'll have to leave a position open for a little bit of time. There's one particular position, Liz was involved in this interview. We had to interview 4 or 5 people before we found the right person, and it's, the candidate pool isn't there, or not as many people are putting in for jobs. That's what we're finding.
Well, I mean, of the people that we had laid off that we've offered back, have they been coming back, or have they found?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Yes, Denny?
Motion?
Yeah, there being any other questions on Article 3?
Anyone?
There being none?
Motion for favorable action, Article 3, in the amount of $716,914 for
A
free cash?
second?
Seconded by
Second.
Susan. Okay. All in favor? Denny?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. 1300. Article 4, stabilization. Okay. As Jim explained earlier, like we do with Opeb, we'd like to add stabilization whenever possible to get ourselves, as Jim said, the goal was to be 10% of our operating budget to be as a reserve, the rainy day fund. Any money that goes into stabilization takes 2/3 of a vote to get it out for use, so it's basically a nice safety net for when we direly need to call upon it. It's not to be grabbed for, just because we want to grab some money to do something. It takes 2/3 to get it out, only 50% to get it in. Any questions on stabilization? Any?
Yeah. So Jim, this will bring it up to 9.6 million?
Yeah.
And
Our
that,
operating budget is just almost exactly 100 million.
okay, I was trying to remember that.
Yeah,
So, close.
yeah.
And at the rate the markets are going, fair market value could get us to 10% before the spring, if things keep going the way they're going.
I knock wood there. So next question is, when we hit 10%,
Good question. That's what I'm going to ask you. What do you want to do?
okay.
Yeah.
And,
When we hit the 10%, if the next article keeps up, I think we should continue to put money towards that, because before COVID, I had met with Brian Jarvis, and who's helped us on the projects down here, and now he's helping us with the middle school, and he said, I don't know, you think 10 million, 20 million is a good number? And he said, you got to go more than 20 million. You're looking probably at closer to 30 for, I explained to him what I thought, maybe build out into the courtyard, add some more labs and some more space for, Gene would know better than me. I look at our gym up at the high school and I see that it's so small, just coaching youth basketball. The desired gym that everybody wants to play at is the Elm Street gym. It's kind of scary that the Elm Street's preferred over the high school gym. So those are some of the things I look at. So I think if you put me on the spot today, I'd say I think we should just, once we hit that with an extra 300,000 or 400,000, put it towards the capital stabilization, and because we know this high school is coming, and I think I'm trying to plan to do it without an override.
Okay.
And one of the issues that school committee brought up when we had our powwow 2 years ago was that the money that goes into Opeb is earmarked exclusively for Opeb, and it cannot be used for other things. But whatever we put into a stabilization fund, we can, like I said, in dire need, we can go after those resources with a 2/3 vote and apply it to whatever the dire need is. And similarly with the capital, if we start parking things away and we say, hey, you know, our long-range goals of doing this project don't look like they're going to materialize, but we do have these urgent needs, we can tap that and bring it back. So
Either way, if we are able to do this high school project down the road, it's going to involve a 2/3 vote regardless, because it's going to involve borrowing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Any other questions for Article 4? There being none, I'll entertain a motion for Article 4.
Motion for a favorable action in the amount of $1 million coming from free cash.
Okay. Motion by Denny, seconded by?
Second?
By Susan. All in favor? Denny?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. 13-0-0. Article 5, Capital Stabilization. As Jim explained, this account's been around for quite a while and seldomly used. The current balance is 0, and he foresees projects coming down the road that we should start saving for now that we have cash available and setting it aside. And once again, as he mentioned, it would take 2/3 vote to take it out of the capital stabilization for use. Can money in capital stabilization just be taken out and returned back to general funds? Or does it, once it goes in as capital, it has to stay for capital?
Designated for capital.
Stays in for capital. So the only way to take it out is for a capital project. Okay. So in a situation where we needed extra funds, we could turn around and says, well, we're not going to put free cash towards the capital this year. We're going to go to capital stabilization, and therefore the free cash can stay for any purpose.
Yes.
Yes, Mark, yeah, Mark.
So with this capital stabilization, is it considered part of stabilization? You take the two accounts and add them together.
When we go out to borrow, yes, it's going to help us, yeah.
So basically, we hit the 10%.
If you look at it that way, yes.
So the other thing I'm wondering is why do you need a separate account? Why can't just a general stabilization fund, and we just say to ourselves, 10% of that will always be just only for capital? I mean, to me, that this fund here just seems to now really exclude, here's the money, you can only use it for the capital stabilization, if I understood what you said correctly. So I don't know why we would tie money up like that. Opeb, I consider a different scenario than this, so I don't understand the reason for this article.
My thought process behind this whole thing, and I knew I was going to receive questions like this because it's something somewhat new. I mean, 68's a long time ago. But I look back to what did we do with the Fields project? We put $1.5 million in the fall of 2018 just in that account, and we parked it there, knowing that we would need the money to design the field and do the X, Y, and Z. We did a similar thing with the high school for $400,000 for a feasibility study. I know that this high school project is coming down the road one way or another, and the message I've received just from talking to school committee members, superintendent, my board members, is that you've got to start to plan for it because one way or another, this probably isn't going to go to an override. It was the best way I could start to plan for this project. Yes, it could be used on anything else, on another turf field, maybe on upper Turco field, but I know this project's coming down the line one way or another, and right now I don't have an account to park it in. Capital stabilization appeared to me to be the best way to put it in an account and have it work to our advantage when we go out to borrow for these next few projects that you'll consider next week, to more or less, I'm really working towards that goal of the AAA bond rating, and that'll help. You're right, Mark, we could put it in the regular stabilization account, but like Mark said, it's going to be difficult to get out.
Right, so my question is, with a stabilization amount, do you get a lower, bond rating or better bond rating the more money you have in the stabilization account?
We're a AA2 bond. We're the second from the highest right now. We've been
So
trying
my
for
question, I guess, if we put money here,
Yeah.
does it go towards getting a better rating? Or if we put money there, we're not going to get credit for it, so we don't get as better rating? In other words, it's costing us a better bond rating by putting money in a special account versus having it.
All the reserves, including whatever you have as certified free cash, So it's all reserves that are not,
So, in answer to your question, it doesn't, the $1 million doesn't matter if it's in a capital or regular stabilization in the eyes of the rating agencies. But to have it separate as capital, it's more of a savings account, it's designated for capital, and I understand your point, and it's a good point. But we want to try to save and to, designate and, because we know things are coming down the road. So-
Okay, I'm all set, thank you.
yeah, and it probably sounds like it would be easier to get something out of capital stabilization for capital than to go to regular stabilization saying, we have a project we want to fund. Yes, Susan?
I was delighted to, when you initially talked about this, I think this is a great idea. To me, it's akin to, in a household where you have a savings account, but then you have a Christmas fund or a vacation fund. It's a way of sort of tracking what you've salted away for a particular purpose. And you're right, it could all be together, but this way it kind of tracks where we're going with funds that we know are dedicated for a particular purpose. So I think this is a great idea, and I'm glad you're resurrecting it.
Thank you.
Did I see a hand up on the screen?
I have one more question.
Okay. Yep, Mark?
Putting it into this fund, will this require a 2/3 vote?
Put it in, no, majority to put it in. They changed that with the,
Okay, so with this one, majority can take it in,
majority can put it in. You can take it out.
2/3.
still 2/3. So if you have a capital project like the school or something else in town, do we run the risk of the town meeting getting stacked and not getting
Yeah, but,
2/3 vote to get it out?
yeah, but I also know that for this high school project, if it comes to fruition, we're gonna need to borrow for it anyways, so you're going to need the 2/3 vote there regardless.
Okay.
Yes, Josette?
We did something similar to this for the COA, for the police department and fire department, setting aside extra money. We got criticized for it because we had too much money there, but Jim was very smart, and I commend you, and your financial team, to set aside, like Susan said, you know that you've got this coming down, you're setting aside extra money, and nobody else can touch it. And that's the main thing, is protecting it so that we know it's going for a specific program.
And just to add on to what Joseph said, it's more valuable to the rating agencies to have it in that account as opposed to parked or saved somewhere else. So we get the benefit from that, and it's looked upon by the DOR as well.
Any other questions on Article 5?
Yes, I've got a question. I'm curious if we have all those capital projects that still have remaining balances in them. Is this the type of fund that we can clean up all those remaining balances, put it in this fund, or are those other projects like specifically scoped and they wouldn't be able to fit into something as general as this?
Go ahead, Jim.
So right now, we have just about $27,295 in older capital projects that are completed. I'm actually, in capital budget went along with this last night, proposing to take that 27 and reallocate it towards another capital project. We do have, $1 million plus or so in remaining capital balances, but those are ongoing capital projects. I think in the past, people had questioned, well, you have all this extra money. We've played, not catch up, but we've the last 5 years, we've gone in, reallocated that money, whether it be under Article 5 at the Springtown meeting, which is in the in-year budget adjustment, or, through capital. So there's not a great deal outstanding in prior approved capital projects. The money that is still there, the projects are ongoing.
And generally,
Yeah, it was mainly just whether or not we had that ability to do that in the future if we have a project that's got a couple grand left over.
Yeah. So yes, Doug, the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you.
yes, Jeff.
So are we saying we can move the 27,000 from the leftover capital projects into stabilization, the capital
You
stabilization?
could if you wanted to. Right now, it's proposed in capital budget code to take the 27 and put it towards a, where did they put it towards? They put it towards the old town hall last night. That's where they voted to put it.
And so generally, once a project closes, you don't physically close the books
Unless there's,
for anywhere from a year to 18 months.
if it's less than, I think, $1,000, we generally close it. But if it's a few thousand, like I'll give you, a spring 2013 bridge repair has $4,300 left. So we're gonna go back and ask you to reallocate it. The small stuff, I just asked Jody and she takes it off the books and it closes out to general fund.
Okay. Other questions on Article 5? I don't think, yes. Denny?
Motion for favorable action, Article 5, in the amount of $1 million coming from free cash.
Second?
Motion by Denny, seconded by Susan. All in favor, Denny?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yeah.
And myself is a yes. 13-0-0 for favorable action. Okay. Article 16, street acceptances.
And my request would be, if you do vote on this tonight, just call it the street acceptance article. I'm assuming it could be Article 15 when all is said and done, so, and I'll adjust accordingly.
Okay.
So Rick's here tonight. I know he can speak to it. Like I mentioned, it's for Dale, not Dale Olmsted, but for Olmsted and Emerald Way. Yeah, Dale Olmsted. Pretty standard. Rick, anything to say on those?
No, these, both of these streets are built to specification with the engineering department. The engineering department is not happy with the construction. There's some minor cleaning and grass cutting that needs to be done. And then the final thing is the planning board will be holding their residence hearing on October 7th. So they are, in the eyes of the engineering department, these streets are good to go.
I noticed on the Emerald Way, we're only doing a partial street acceptance.
Correct. It's, I don't know if you've been down there, but there's a bridge.
Okay.
This acceptance is to that bridge. Anything on the other side is associated with the Ross Common subdivision.
Okay, so it's, this particular part of a project is completely accepted, the other part's an ongoing?
Correct.
Gotcha, all righty. All right, questions for street acceptances article?
Make a motion to approve the street acceptance article.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by?
Second.
By Susan. All in favor of accepting the streets? Denny?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
And myself. Streets are accepted, 13-0-0. Okay. That concludes the articles for tonight. I just wanted to give everybody an update before we talk over the calendar. At our last meeting, we authorized the officers of the Finance Committee to take any action necessary to help close the books of the last fiscal year. There were 2 transfers that were brought to our attention for action. One was for professional services. There's actually 2 professional services transfers for the animal control officer. We moved $9,500 from the salaries over to the services because it wasn't going to be on our payroll, it was going to be on Norwood's payroll, so we moved $9,500 for that. And the other was taking permanent part-time salary of $3,000 and moving it to office supplies for smart screen for the building department, is that correct? Yes, so those were the two articles that went through by the select board and myself acting on behalf of the finance committee through the authorization that you gave us to close out the books.
Would you go to the second one, please?
The second one was part-time permanent salaries to office supplies for a smart screen
Smart screen, okay,
for
thank
the
you.
building department. Okay. Alrighty, we'll review the calendar.
So, Mr. Chairman, obviously, we had a couple of hiccups tonight, but next meeting is Thursday, September 9th. That's the capital budget articles. I approached you at the beginning of this meeting and asked how you want to do that, because Chairman Forsberg will be here. I also would like to have all the department heads there to be able to answer any specific questions, such as fire truck or, a dump truck or whatever. Would you like to have that over Zoom completely, or do you want to have in person?
I think with the number of people, we'll probably just go to Zoom on that one.
That works.
Okay, so September 9th will be a Zoom meeting, not a hybrid meeting.
Okay. The 13th, we mentioned I propose that we have it at the Byrd Middle School Auditorium to address the school articles and to talk about the middle school project. I started to work on a memo for that meeting just to prepare you folks, and I know Susan and Jeff are serving on that committee, and we have a whole website up. I'll be sure to share that with you. Superintendent Goff did have a presentation for capital last night. I'm sure she's going to have something similar, maybe with some more information than what it was a very brief presentation last night. So I think it's a good idea to get folks in that building and let you see what it's like. The 16th is the sewer and water articles, planning board sponsored article, and the citizens petition. Could we kind of see how it goes?
Yeah, we'll see on how many people are planning on attending those, and we'll hopefully try to go hybrid again. I like the hybrid environment.
Me too.
Yeah. And then obviously the 20th, 23rd, the 20th on, we're open, so if we need to meet again, we're good to go. We talked about public hearing at 6 p.m. on October 19th, and there is, I'm proposing that we have that at the media center at the middle school, at the Byrd Middle School, because there is a forum for town meeting members at 7 o'clock. So I think it'll be a 2-for-1 thing. People will be able to come and then go to the outreach session that the design team is having. And then town meeting is October 23rd at the high school at 10 a.m. And I haven't specified inside or outside. It's rain or shine.
Yep.
And if we need to go inside, we'll make sure we have the appropriate, everyone's spread out. We're going to plan for both.
Okay.
So.
And Walpole Cable's fine with the media center at Byrd for recording, at least?
Yeah, for recording at least. We won't be live. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Anybody have any conflicts with the proposed meeting nights?
I just asked that we reconsider September 9th to be hybrid as well.
I would second that reconsideration. Far more effective being in person from my standpoint.
How many department heads are we looking at?
Can they join it? I mean,
Can they join via Zoom and then
Zoom.
We'll see.
FinCom be given the option?
If you want them, if you want it in person, I'm gonna, it's, yeah.
Right.
Through you. Could maybe the department heads come in seriatim? In other words, the ones we need come and then they leave, and the next ones that we need leave?
We can make it work if you want to have a hybrid.
Yeah, because we
one way
wouldn't
or
need every single one of them present for every single.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be a way to
I'll
do
make
it.
it work one way or another. I'll ask them to just stay in their offices and monitor it from there.
I was going to say, and
Okay.
joining on Zoom and answering questions, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. Just by a raise of hands, would you prefer to go with the hybrid again as opposed to all Zoom? In favor of hybrid? And
Andrew, Lucy,
okay, so we have a majority for going hybrid. We'll do the hybrid then on the 9th. And we'll get the department heads a heads up as to, hang out in your office, and as we move to something that's on your agenda, make your way down the hall, and if you hear us say nothing, you can turn around and go home.
Okay.
Alrighty. Alrighty. Any other questions, comments, or concerns of the Finance Committee members? No.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Jeff. Seconded by Denny. In favor of adjourning, Denny?
Yes.
Josette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Mark Sullivan?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
And myself. 13:00, we stand adjourned. Enjoy your long weekend. See everybody next week.